If you can just go to the next screen, Yaku. So really what this series of webinars is about elements that we use at Irontree to make sure that our business mitigates the effects of any disruptive process. And we really started designing this webinar before the coronavirus became an issue. And it was our plan to have this series of webinars anyhow, because we feel like, times have moved on and you need to look at elements of your business which fit with the modern workplace and make your business resilient to disruptive events. The coronavirus and the lockdown obviously made it much more relevant. And really this is about moving as much of your business into the cloud as possible. Obviously you can't move people into the cloud, but you can create an environment much like we have at Irontree. And what you're looking at really is a depiction of what Irontree is doing at the moment, that our entire workforce is sitting at home, whether they're in a house, an apartment block. The little icons you see at the bottom are obviously people sitting with a laptop and a headset which is connected to the cloud into a voice over IP telephony system, which we use in our office even when we are working in the office. And all of those elements you see, which we use and makes a situation that you wouldn't even know whether we're in the office or not. And just as an example, using this Zoom conferencing facility, we have on the chat today myself, Jaco Liebenberg, who's our marketing director, Stephen Cohen, one of our directors. Jaco is based in Somerset West, Stephen is based in Johannesburg, I'm in Cape Town, and then we'll also introduce you to Jared Klutzer, who's one of our call center boffins, who's very involved in Office 365, which we're going to be talking about today. The first webinar we had, if you missed it, was on Monday, which was an overview of all of these elements. And then on Wednesday, we went through the cloud hosting solution. And today we're going to do Office 365 and Microsoft Teams. In a second, I'm going to hand over to Jaco to actually host the webinar today. I just wanted to mention that what we've seen in the last week since the lockdown is globally a massive interest in cloud solutions. And Microsoft have published a stat that in the last week, the cloud adoption increased by 775%. So this just indicates to me how things change very quickly when a disruptive event that affects everyone becomes an issue. And I don't think that after this, people are going to go back to what they knew. I think there is going to be a new normal. Anyhow, I'm going to hand over to Jaco, and Jaco is going to tell you about primarily Teams. I think that's going to be the exciting part of it, but I think he is going to mention Office 365 as well. So Jaco, over to you.
Thanks, David. Yeah, so as David said, now we're living in a world where remote connectivity is becoming the new normal. I think I've been blessed in a way that it was always available, and I got used to connecting from a home connection or from a home office setup. But I think a lot of people who are more office bound, this is a scary world. Luckily, we live in a technology driven world where it's going to be very possible and feasible to actually have a similar setup that you would have in the office. And as David mentioned, we've touched on so many of these cloud hosted solutions already. We're definitely not done. We're about halfway through our series. So yeah, I encourage you to stay tuned and look out for the cool stuff that's coming. So what we're covering today is I just want to touch on the scary world that we live in today. And I'm not going to bore you with security statistics and all that. I'm just going to give you a sketch of the sparse environment that we're all connecting to. Then I'm just going to go through the suite of products that Office 365 offers. And then I'm really going to do a deep dive into Teams. The reason why Teams are so fundamental to our way we do business is it's a really easily adopted application, and it can actually drive a lot of productivity across any sized company. And then we're going to jump into the ecosystem. We're going to try to explain to you the different packages that Microsoft has put together. And I'm saying that with a smile because about an hour ago, the packages seems to still change. but Jared's going to have that very easy task of explaining the packages to you and really just high level explain to you how it's actually rolled out. So yeah, it's going to be a shorter one than normal, but we hope you enjoy it. All right, so a statistic from Microsoft is that employees work on nearly twice as the number of teams or projects compared to 5 years. So what that really means is our workload is increasing, and the way we need to work needs to become smarter. For instance, at iEntry, we've got an extremely spread out team of valuable stakeholders in the company. So as Dave mentioned, we've got Joburg-based people. We've even got a Scottish-based person based in Scotland that needs to contribute to what iEntry does. And so having all this internal and external team members, we need to find an ecosystem where it's well supported, documented, secure, and this is where the world is moving to. It's really becoming a place where you've got providers of services spread out across the entire globe. So as mentioned, they're geographically distributed, and you need to find a good way to connect. But very importantly, what we've actually discovered during this lockdown period is how do you keep the guys motivated, and how do you keep the guys connected so that they all feel part of the team? Obviously, the larger the team size, the more difficult it is, but that's where technology can play such a huge role. Then we're also looking at a multi-generation workforce. So when I started 18 years ago in the kind of office world, or in the world of corporate business, it was really a case of I brought in a skill set where internet was part of my everyday use. I was comfortable in using web pages, etc. But I was working with a few directors at that stage that weren't used to it. Now, the guys that are coming in, that's starting the 23, 24-year-olds, they're coming with a whole different perspective to what I came into the office with. And they're coming with mobile first. They're coming with easy applications. They're coming with creative ways of problem solving. And that's something that our technology actually needs to keep up with. So we believe that the suite of products that we now starting to use at iEntry very, very aggressively is actually touching on all these aspects. So with different groups and different requirements inside our business, they all have different needs. So what we found, and David, I hope you smile when I say the sentence, is we've often gone through a transition at iEntry where at least once a year, we would stop, look up and realize, you know what, we've managed to create silos inside our business. We've managed to isolate certain departments, not just by the communication flow, but also through the applications that they use. So if one department or one team focuses and uses one specific technology, then they isolate themselves because it's only used internally on their side. So the siloed apps approach is really something that we should be able to bridge with today's technology offerings. And the applications that you kind of start using on a daily basis, the last thing you want to do is have 27 tabs open on a browser. You've got to log into each and every one of them. You need to notify somebody in this application to do something in another application. That becomes cumbersome. It becomes time consuming. And it really is a nightmare for your IT department that needs to kind of have a compliancy umbrella over everything. And that's a real world challenge that we're sitting with today. So the different work styles that I've mentioned, I mean, we've got the technical department, we've got an infrastructure department, marketing, sales, etc. So all of them use technology differently. Some people don't use it at all. Some people prefer to only use, a simple messaging app to kind of get their message across. Some people divert back to the mail, to the email approach. So we needed to find a solution that actually encompasses all of these to make the people feel comfortable if they start working inside this ecosystem. And what Office 365 has now truly done is they've given this complete solution. So all the elements that you see at the top there, the chat-based workspace, the true mail and calendar. When I say true, I mean the exchange element of mail and calendar. Voice and video meetings are possible, co-creation of content, proper site and content storage and management, and then at an enterprise level, even a social media aspect. So all of these applications in its independency can actually form to make an integrated ecosystem, and that experience is seamless. You jump through the applications quite easily, and I'm even going to show you elements where one application will house all of your activity. So this is the kind of environment that we need to be able to sketch out for ourselves to truly collaborate properly and cross bridges within our company. So
okay, can I jump in there for a second?
You may, David.
I just wanted to say, I loved your comment about the siloed effect, and I just wanted to illustrate how we use this system at Irontree so that everyone's kind of mindful of when you talk about this collaborative kind of stuff. So before we started using Office 365 and particularly Teams, we've got a situation where, Yaka, not only have you got different applications that you're using for communication, but you've got different devices. So we landed up using Outlook email and WhatsApp, and if any of you guys who are watching know Slack, which is a kind of a workspace hub for messaging and chatting. And then what happens is you don't know where the communications are. So you've got a video conference scheduled on Zoom, but how do you know that people are going to remember? So you go into your mobile device and then you send them a WhatsApp message to say, please don't forget about the Zoom meeting. And then when in the Zoom meeting say, well, did everyone see that email I sent yesterday? And eventually you actually don't know what the hell's going on anymore. So just be mindful, what Yaka's going to show you now with Teams is a way to pull this all together so that you've got one interface that works across all your devices. So just as an example, if we have a Teams meeting in our office, Yaka would send out a meeting request in his Outlook calendar. That would show up in our calendar with a button that says, click here to join the Teams meeting. And that would happen within the Teams workspace where we'll have a chat, which has actually got all the documents we're sharing that are relevant to that meeting. So just be mindful of the way that we're using this whole collaborative set of tools. Thanks, Yoko.
All right, absolutely, Dave. That was a good point. Obviously, we have to consider, like I mentioned in the previous slide, people choose their own kind of preferences how they use technology. So don't exclude the secondary level of applications, the power of a WhatsApp message to remind somebody that there's a Zoom meeting starting or a Teams meeting starting. But all in all, if you use the applications correctly and people buy into this technology, then it's really going to be powerful. What Microsoft actually achieved with their building of this package is, I mean, I haven't met anybody, bar maybe the Linux geeks out there, that really focuses on anti-establishment and anti-corporate products. I really haven't met anyone that actually has never used an Office product before. So the way that they've actually packaged it now, we have faith and trust in the technologies. When you see that Word logo, when you see that Excel or Outlook logo, there's already a trust with that brand. It resonates with you. So if you start using an application that actually encompasses everything, you're actually looking to build trust very quickly. So well done to Microsoft in that way, because they've actually now all the applications now work within one, and there's already a trust. People feel, oh, there's my Word logo, cool. I feel comfortable with using it. The interface might change, the menu options might change a bit, but there's already a familiarity when they start using the application. So as mentioned, the products that are part of this suite is the Microsoft Teams is just an absolute powerful beast of a technology. It's chat-based workspace at its core, with so much more power. The mail and calendar. Guys, I just quickly want to explain, and this is a marketer that's explaining this to you, so please take that in mind. The exchange part of the email, if you come from the old school kind of POP3 type email applications, think of it like this. When you wanted to move your email to your phone and you download an email on your phone, you want that same reaction to appear on your desktop mail client. So you open the email, it should already be then read on your on your desktop. So at the end of the day, that synchronicity that follows through on all your devices at its core, that's what Exchange is all about. It really allows you to actually view your emails, interact with your emails, and even your calendars across multiple devices, multiple different instances of using that application. So that is where Exchange is extremely powerful. The calling functionality that Teams now houses comes from Skype's functionality. So the voice and video meetings are now thoroughly built into Teams. So I mentioned Skype there. Skype for Business is still a very powerful tool, but people are now relying more to do it in a one size fits all environment, as opposed to have Skype on their machine as well. Then the co-creating of content. Guys, this is so powerful. So about a year, 2 years ago, I introduced Google Docs to the irontree business, because we needed a tool that we can actually have access to the documents that we're working on at the same time. So Stephen, myself, and David would be working on one single document. But it was a whole new education process. So everybody needed to kind of learn how to use Google, etc. Now that Microsoft has brought this out, it's just so natively entrenched in these guys' operations that they can actually just jump into a Word document. They can actually see who else is looking at this document. You could have a live chat while you're working on the same document. So co-creation of documents is an exceptionally powerful tool. Then I'm just going to briefly touch on SharePoint. So SharePoint has always been this kind of enigma. You would always hear SharePoint and you be a little bit afraid of it, because it's this big enterprise clunky intranet that you set up, very complicated. Forget that. SharePoint has now moved towards an extremely robust, agile, easy to use infrastructure where you actually have a place where all your company documents are managed. It's a single file storage location, and you can actually have all the co-collaboration features inside SharePoint. You can make it fun. You can create specific team intranets or team sites, if you will, where you can have quizzes, videos that you share, and you can actually use it as like a virtual notice board. So SharePoint is something that Microsoft has spent a lot of time on to kind of get it entrenched in the small business, as opposed to previously where you had a SharePoint server in your office and big enterprises really started using it. The last element, the enterprise social. So guys, I don't know how many of you guys know what Yammer is. So Yammer was Microsoft's competitor to Facebook back in the day. They focused on bringing it at an enterprise level only. So they wanted to introduce it to corporates, where you have a closed, secure, lockdown version of a Facebook where internal departments and teams can actually collaborate. So there's an element of Yammer built into Teams now, where the fun element, the social networking element of Teams all come from the Yammer ecospace. And Yammer is still in existence. I mean, I'm sure there's big companies that still uses it, but the cool stuff has been brought into Teams. So this is the kind of trusted product suite that I keep on referring to. All right, moving on. All right, so the fun stuff, Microsoft Teams. As mentioned, at its core, it's a chat-based workspace application. So like David mentioned, we started using Slack about a year, 2 years ago, and it really opened our eyes in terms of how instant messaging is moving to replace old school email. If we actually started using or having a conversation on email, I really hate the fact that there's like a thread of 20 emails, and this is an internal conversation, and you're having it with guys that you probably see every day. And this is this massive long thread email. And then somebody says, "Yeah, do you guys remember what I said in my first email?" Then you've got to go back to that thread, etc. So this is not the way that we communicate in real life. Why should it be the way we communicate in our business? So this chat-based conversation it's replacing email in its essence, especially for internal conversations. What it means there with a hub for teamwork, everything that you actually need to run your team, to communicate, to manage projects, etc., is now built into this Microsoft Teams. It's customizable for each team, so you could bring your personality. We've got a fantastic call center agent called Dean at our office, and I'm sure you guys have spoken to him. So Dean can bring his personality into Teams. He could have his favorite avatar or profile picture on. He can introduce new fun ways to actually use emojis, etc., inside this chat. So it really, the team that actually has it, they can personalize it and they can make it their own. And then a very, very strong security element is built into Teams. The conversations are securely stored, archived. You've got access to your, your old messages, and a security layer is built on top of the entire Teams infrastructure. So I just want to use the screenshot that you guys can see, and I strategically chose only specific messages because there's quite a few internal conversations happening on our Teams, obviously. But on your left-hand side, you'll see a variety of teams that I belong to. Then you'll see below each team has a specific channel. So for instance, if I've got a sales team, I might want to be talking about specific material that we use. So that's a team in itself. On the right-hand side, you can see the rich media availability for your conversations. If you drop a URL, it will actually fetch a little preview. You can create polls inside of Teams. You can create video recordings inside Teams. And I'm going to show you more functionality on the second slide. But this in itself is an extremely broad overview of what Teams can do. I mean, you can see the activity log, the chat functionality. Your calendar is immediately synced with your Microsoft Outlook Exchange calendar. The call history that you'll be able to see, and then files is obviously something that you'll utilize quite a lot. So the chatting, extremely pervasive, and it really becomes part of your day-to-day business. I hate that first bullet point on the left-hand side where it says persistent chatting. It is persistent chatting because if you've got a large team and there's conversations happening, at some point, these persistent chats might actually just, take away your attention of something that you're doing, but you have control over that. You can set the notification level. You could, if somebody mentions you, that could raise a notification. So for instance, somebody mentions me and I get a direct notification. But if somebody's just having a chat about their day, etc., inside the Teams, I want to limit that notifications. I don't want to get bored with it, or I don't want to get, my attention shouldn't just be on a general conversation. If somebody wants to speak directly at me, they will mention me. You can easily switch between the teams. I mean, as you can see, these are on the left-hand side, these are all the teams that are actually working on this side of things. And it really becomes easy to kind of switch between the teams. Your alerts and your notifications will actually take care of that for you. The other aspects, like I mentioned, showing personality with emojis and stickers and GIFs. This is a cool little thing where you see the unicorn. This is a nice little functionality where you can actually just give praise to either one member or a few members of your team, give it a nice personal feel and message, and alert them. So these are the little things that you can actually make quite fun for yourself. New elements that are coming to Teams, email integration. So I haven't seen that in action. I think it's still being released, but what I'm assuming what it actually going to mean is you can have internal emails actually come through as messages. And even if you're not in your Teams environment, you can then reply on an email thread and the message will be populating in your team chat. And then coming soon, guest access. So what guest access actually means is, let's say you're working on client projects and that client is integral to the collaboration that needs to happen, etc. So you can actually then go create a team where you can allow certain guests to access only that team. So there's a good privacy control that's established, but the client doesn't feel left out. He's involved in the conversations. He can approve things through this channel. And that makes it quite easy to bring in an outside from your organization, a member into a team, and actually then allow them to converse with you. All right, so what I meant with a hub for teamwork. So as you can see here, we actually collaboratively built PowerPoint slides for these webinars that we're having inside Teams. So you can see the interface that you're looking at on the right-hand side it's natively PowerPoint. There shouldn't be any difference between this PowerPoint and the PowerPoint you'll open on your desktop. But the advantage is that 3 or 4 or 5 people are collaboratively working on these slides. And if I make a change, it immediately reflects on David's side, and he can actually then, comment on it. He could say, Yaku, cool, that was a nice change, or you know what, I'm deleting that. And all the applications, Word, Excel, OneNote, all of them are built into this ecosystem. So it's not limited to obviously only PowerPoint. The search functionality is extremely powerful, so you can search for files, for specific mentions or chats, etc. So that's a very cool functionality. Your ability to quickly schedule a meeting. So for instance, if I want to urgently speak to David, I can either arrange a quick meeting and just send him a notification saying, cool, let's talk in 5 minutes, or I can just phone in directly like I would if I pick up the phone. And that icon is easy to understand. I mean, the camera is a video call, the phone is a phone call, just audio, and all that functionality is very clearly laid out. All right, so the support for open and public teams, as mentioned, is something we've actually started collaborating or exploring with. Some of our service providers use Teams, and they would actually just create a general meeting or a Teams call, and we would just simply jump in because we have the Teams application installed, and then we get invited to that conversation. All right, so where an additional power element comes into play for Teams is it's integrated, it has integration capabilities to start talking to applications outside of the Microsoft space. So this screenshot that you see, you'll quickly realize what is a Microsoft product and not. I mean, Excel, PowerPoint, all those things, Microsoft Planner is a new tool that they released, but Hootsuite, that's definitely not a Microsoft product. So your ability to integrate with third-party applications, it's quite seamless. So you would literally then, if I go just to the previous screen, let's just show you there. So under your teams, you would literally click on plus, and it would say applications that you can actually connect to. It will bring up this screen. There's off-the-shelf native applications that you can plug into, but then there's also third-party connector systems like a Zapier or a PySync that you could utilize to actually connect to an application that's very unique to your business. So in our world, we use Trello for our marketing content planning. So we've got a connector built in with Trello where it actually is easy. The application opens up inside Microsoft Teams, and you're able to actually engage with that software without leaving your hub that you're actually using for your productivity. Same goes for Google Analytics, for instance. I've got a daily report of my website analytics come into, delivered into my marketing team. And everybody involved in that team can see what our website engagement looks like. If we had a spike, if we had a downturn, and that level of integration really makes your job so much easier. And that brings to the point that I raised earlier where I said, you don't want to have 27 tabs open on your browser. You don't want to needing to log in to several different applications just to do your work. It's time consuming, it's cumbersome, and it really, really gets frustrating at the end of the day.
Jaco?
Guys, yes, Stephen.
Just in my previous job, I've thought about a great idea, and I'm sure accounting systems will do it, where you have a kind of channel to your accounting system, pretend it's evolution. And through natural query, you could say, you know, show me a customer balance for a customer, and it will return a communication to you, or say like, how much profit did we make for March, and it will generate an income statement. And I'm sure people are going to start doing that.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I've seen applications that actually allow you to do that if the right kind of connections exist. And that probably is a good segue into my next point about the bots. So there are a bunch of bots that you can actually integrate with Microsoft Teams. And that level of querying, depending on what you integrated with, Steve, I think would be very feasible in the very near future. Because if Microsoft is sticking to this mantra of this becoming a hub for all your business activity, I can't imagine that getting your accounting software pulled in or getting your business intelligence tools plugged in and then querying that in a simple conversation way, using a bot to kind of say, what revenue did we generate yesterday? Tell me the leading sales that we had yesterday. So I can see it going there. I've played around with other applications that has lightweight built-in functionality like that. So I think it's just a matter of time where that teams can do that as well.
Well, Jaco, as I was saying what I read on Monday, to me, I think that this is going to be Microsoft's flagship product. I mean, you can even see that they've made an announcement that on the 21st of April, they're renaming Office 365 to Microsoft 365. And I think it's because they want people to embrace the whole Microsoft ecosystems, of which I think Teams will be the anchor application. They've already said that they're going to have Teams for families. So, I mean, we all know that Teams has been amazing because it's all your business communication, and you create sales teams and admin teams, and I think it's an amazing tool. Once they drop it into families, and then families start using it to share information at timetables and kids' school and all that, you'll see that there'll be a big momentum for people to say, this works so well in my family, I wish I could have it for business, and they'll realize they actually started in business. So I think this is Microsoft's big initiative over the next 12 months.
Absolutely. Yeah, I read that same article and I was blown away by the coolness and the level of ease of use that they're going to introduce for that. I mean, that article, that one thing that stands out for me is they're going to make it possible where you can actually have like a secure and safety mechanism built into Teams. So if your family is spread out across the globe, there's like a security check-in or a safety check-in if something happens in that area. So that's going to be natively built in. For kids, there's probably going to be some kind of tracking, and I know it sounds scary, but I'll love to put trackers in my kids one day. So I think at the end of the day, what it's going to come down to is they're going to need to introduce this as a whole different range of products, but with the Team's familiarity. And that's going to make it, like you say, it's going to introduce it to a whole different segment of the market, and that segment's going to bleed over into their business lives as well. So it's an excellent marketing strategy from Microsoft. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. So what I try to sketch here for you guys is to show you how we use it internally. Now, absolutely, we're a unique business. There's nothing cookie cutter about us, but this is how we've positioned Teams specifically to help us be more productive, be more efficient, etc. So, for instance, on the sales side of things, how our sales teams are using it, we get quick answers from our project managers and from our sales operations. There's a very easy engagement that happens from a tech side to a sales consultant side. So if there's a quick question that a sales consultant needs to ask because he's actually on the phone with somebody, that quick engagement is now possible. We share our successes on Teams. We're very happy. We've got a general praised section on one of our teams where Stephen can, quickly boast about something that happened in his day, or he could say, you know what, Byron was absolutely awesome in this meeting this morning. And people engage with that. People really like to actually see those things. And this is how we actually share successes across our company. Notifications, yes.
Again, I'm sorry to interject, but I mean, because of like really, we also used to the regular software we use, and then we see, like, we take lots of new software and it's not great, but this is something that's really made a difference to me. So what I think is going to happen in 6 months' time is that people's desktop background is actually just going to be in Teams. They're going to be in Teams the whole time. They'll open up Excel within Teams and Word, and you spoke about the email earlier on. The last mile that they've got to deal with, because if you think about it, the way we're using the video conferencing, I mean, we hardly use Zoom anymore. And if I want to phone you, I'll quickly just phone you from Teams, and I'm using internet telephony in effect. So when your customers start using Teams, imagine like if you've got a customer, you quickly phone the customer or a supplier. So I'm looking forward to seeing different channels on the left-hand side where you will see customer channel, supplier channel, all that kind of stuff, your favorite contacts. So it's going to be, how does your business Teams, which we've been using for the last few months, now become a Teams which is much more open to the outside circle of your business. And I'm sure Microsoft's going to be doing a lot of stuff over that.
Well, you heard it here first, and I promise you we don't have shares in Microsoft, but we are confident that they're evolving to that space. But yeah, Steve, no, that's excellent points. And I think this is also something where when I get to the customer support channel there, this is something that people they're actually going to be expectant of that channel when they actually start dealing with companies. Something that I actually use as a very good example is Facebook Messenger has now become quite a crucial part in customer relations, and people log queries now through Facebook Messenger. You've got WhatsApp for Business that's also becoming quite interesting, where businesses set up a WhatsApp account because they know their clientele is using it and they've got to be available on that. So I can see us moving towards a customer support channel on Teams where our clients using the application already can just quickly say, oh, you know what, I've got a quick issue, can somebody help me with it, etc. So that manner of work, that I can completely see it going that way. Other elements that we actually use Teams well for is the marketing side of things. So we coordinate campaigns and event tasks very nicely. And your integration with the newest applications that Microsoft has released, something like Microsoft Planner. So we've got a integration with Microsoft Planner where we can actually plan for our entire quarter of marketing activities. And I say this now because I'm the one using it, but guys, it's super powerful. So if Stephen wants to know, you know what, Yaku, I'm planning to take leave by the end of April, for argument's sake, but I want to see what marketing activities I need to prepare in advance so that I can take my leave. He can simply just go into the marketing tab, look at the plan and see, oh, cool, I'm involved in this webinar, I've got to write this blog, I'm going to do that beforehand. So that clarity and single view of what's happening in your business is immense. We also share the latest content and drafts that we actually create. So every time Irontree releases a new blog, I share it into the appropriate channel. The entire company sees it before it goes out. They can comment, they can make suggestions, and they can actually just take the link and share it on their private social media channels. And that again makes the transparency about what each department is doing. It's breaking down silos, it's breaking down those walls. I mentioned the automated reports from Google Analytics, for example. That's a very cool functionality. And then we can also do marketing launches across multiple stakeholders. So recently, about 2 months ago, we launched a new campaign that pushes cybersecurity solutions. And it really, we actually ran the entire concept, the communication side of things internally. We use Teams for it. So I created a video in Teams and I shared it with my entire team. They wrote comments and made suggestions, etc. And we actually launched an entire marketing campaign using the functionality built into Teams. And the other aspects the team actually has, so per team, you can actually create a little wiki page. And I should have gone in earlier to it, but let me just show you where. So inside your teams, you've got your general files that you share, but then you've got a wiki page. And those guys who are not familiar with what a wiki page is, think of it as Wikipedia, if you will. So any information that you want to share inside a specific category or department in your team, you create a wiki page for it. It's playbooks, it's updated information, latest pricings, all those kind of elements you can actually add to your wiki page. Project management, streamlined project management communication tools. You can manage projects with using your teams. Engineering, our development team uses it to communicate any updates that they do to our servers. And then the customer support side of things, as I mentioned, the fact that you can engage with another department in mere seconds, the accounts department, the sales department, makes your life so much easier. All right, so guys, I'm going to quickly just jump into a very short demo. I know I'm pushed for time here, so I'm just going to quickly engage with this. So this is a live Teams environment that Microsoft has set up. So you've got your left-hand navigation. I'm going to stream through. You've got your variety of teams that you belong to. Inside each team, you've got your channels that you discuss. So for instance, this could be your sales department, and there's the new elements that you need to discuss. This is what a conversation looks like. So you can see the file embedding happens. You can add people, so you can mention people, so they get notifications around it. You can embed images, videos, etc. And then let's just show you a few cool things. So if I'm engaging with this element live, you can see immediate responses going to come through and people are talking directly at you. And all of this is actually managed also then from your activity schedule. So somebody's now sharing an Excel spreadsheet with me. If I need to open it up, it opens up inside Teams and I can then comment and I can have a proper conversation about one specific element. So let's just give it a confirmation that this one is the best. So if I'm having a direct chat with somebody, this is what the environment looks like. And I can actually just say what my next steps would be.
Yeah,
everything is logged in. Yes, David.
I mean, this is really cool, and I hope everyone's realizing now how cool this is. Instead of actually having, as you mentioned earlier, like an email thread with 500 messages, that you actually have to look at your email and has it come through and who's been copied, and you know, this is just so instant and quick and responsive.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, David. So that was a very, very quick demo. So I wanted to just show that to you guys. Let me just bring my PowerPoint back up. Okay, so what is available to you, the variety of packages? So I'm going to call on Jared now, and he's just going to walk you through the packages that are on the table. Jared, stay clear of too much detail as we discussed beforehand. I think I'm already suffering from that. So by all means, have a chat.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Jaco. Just to briefly go over the main Microsoft packages on the screen. The fundamental differences between them. First, we've got Office 365 Business Essentials. Business Essentials is predominantly an online or cloud-based solution, which will focus predominantly on Microsoft services without any local installed applications. And this will give you all the products, but on the online version only. And then we'll move across to Business Premium, which would be everything that Essentials offers you in terms of services, so whether it be Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, the whole works, as well as local applications. And then next we'll move to Business. Microsoft Business gives you everything that Premium gives you, as well as advanced security. This is predominantly aimed at medium to large size companies, as it offers a lot of security functionality based on that. Just to briefly go over the take on process, what we will do is we'll first, when the sales process is complete, so during this time we'll use this time to evaluate what type of product you require and what will be best suited for the circumstances. And next we will create the Microsoft tenant and purchase licenses according to the package that you require. Set up and configure the client's domain. It's important to know that for most of the advanced services that you will require or that you'll get with your Outlook, for example, or those packages, you will require your own domain. So what we would do is we would configure the client's tenant and domain, and then we would create the relevant users and deploy them. Just to conclude, an important thing to note is that each client is unique, and we will assist in making the changeover as seamless as possible.
Jared, can I just say a few things?
Yeah, sure.
So where I was always confused with Office 365, which, as I said, they're going to rename Microsoft 365, is that you can run it in two primary permutations. The one is the business or home versions, in which if you've got a Virgin machine, all you do is just log into your Microsoft account and it starts downloading the software. And you can start working quickly because while it's downloading the basics, you can use Word, Excel, and it's fleshing it out as you go along. The Essentials package, though, doesn't download anything onto your computer. You use that completely in the cloud. So it's like using Excel or Word in the cloud. And obviously your documents will be stored on their OneDrive, which is the same as Dropbox. It's the same as Google Drive. It's very similar. So I do know that they're making big changes on the 21st of April, but it always confused me because they always said you're using Office in the cloud. You actually weren't using Office in the cloud with 365. You were storing your documents on OneDrive if you chose, but if you chose to actually store your documents on your own local hard drive, it was the same as any other versions of Office from 2005. So the true cloud version of their software is really this essentials package, which you only need a browser to run. So that was always like confusion for me, because cloud software by definition doesn't get installed on your PC. Yet Office 365 still installs it on your PC unless you've got the essentials package. And I suppose they're doing that because it will just work a bit faster because it's using the processing power of your own PC. But I think those days will change. I think that in 1 or 2 years' time, you won't even have anything installed on your PC. So the essentials package will probably become the way which most people work. Obviously, they'll change it so that you pay more than the essentials thing. But that was always an area of confusion for me. It becomes cloudy only because you're using this OneDrive thing, which is the same as Dropbox.
That's
Steve,
correct.
That's a good point, Stephen. I'm just getting a question now from Aiden regarding the packages. So Aiden is asking, I don't know if everybody can see the question, but Aiden is asking whether it's possible to actually mix and match your packages and actually give certain staff members a different package to what you're running on your side. So yes, Aiden, it's absolutely possible. So our entry setup works as follows. When we rolled out Microsoft or Office 365 to everybody, we actually went around, we did a bit of an audit. We asked, all right, who's running the most updated version of Office? So when you purchase a laptop, you might get a latest package of Office. So it's then not needed for those people to actually have the business package. They would be fine with the essential package because they already have the Office suite of products installed on their machine. So having essentials for 3 members of your team, but the other 5, don't have the latest version of Office, or they don't even have Office installed at all. So you can, across your organization, have a variety of different packages operating.
Yaka, I just want to add to that. Obviously, whether you're using, so typically what would happen for me, and I was talking to a mate of mine who lives in India, they've got their own personal OneDrives, and then they have an Office OneDrive. So the people in Essentials will be pointed, they can obviously still work with business documents that everybody's sharing on, let's call it the business's OneDrive, even if you've got the software installed on your PC. And you've got some people using Essentials, which is pure cloud. At the end of the day, the Excel spreadsheets and the Word spreadsheets, you must just make sure that you're still storing it on, let's call it the Office OneDrive, so people can still share documents easily.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Cool. Jared, anything you want to add?
No, from my side, the packages are as Stephen mentioned, the fundamental differences between them is basically that the Essentials package is more cloud-based, although it does come with all services. So you could achieve Teams, most importantly, with this particular package, as well as OneDrive SharePoint. Just no local installed application.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that, guys. And as I mentioned, yes, Steve.
It is interesting to me, though, that when I have a look at the columns where you see, like, all the features and they compare business versus Essentials, on the 21st of April, everything's going to include Teams. So whether you're using the business, the classic, the Essentials, whatever the hell it is, they're all going to include Teams. And I really think that it's a matter of time before, they're renaming it Microsoft 365. So I think that they're going to start including a subscription to the operating system itself. So if you signed up with Microsoft 365, essentially you'll get all the operating system and the actual, let's call it Excel, Word, applications, etc., and Teams.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a very good point, Steve. Cool. All right, guys, we've come to the end of our presentation. So I'm just going to quickly launch a poll for everybody. I see there's 1 or 2 questions coming through. Yes, David, I'll give you a shout. All right, cool. So I'm going to launch the poll now.
Yoko, can you just go back to the first slide to end off?
I can. Just give me a second. I've got a few windows open. There we go.
Okay, so while Jaco's launching the poll, I just wanted to conclude this presentation. I hope you don't mind, Jaco, if I take over at this point. I just want to make a point here that all of those elements that you see in the cloud, I just want to repeat that we have already had a webinar on cloud hosting. Jaco will send out a recording of this webinar to all of you who attended, and in fact, everyone who registered but didn't attend. And I think, Jaco, you are also sending a link to a form where people can view any recording or any of the webinars that we've recorded thus far. I also wanted to make it a point that at Irontree, we either support all of these applications or elements in the cloud, or we partner with guys that do that support. So the cloud hosting, Office, cybersecurity, Active Directory in the cloud, backup and disaster recovery, and Plan for Continuity, we do ourselves, and then we partner with a company that does VoIP telephony, and as you've seen on the schedule, there will be a webinar on that VoIP telephony element in, I think it's next week sometime. I also realized that not all of these elements are relevant for every company. So guys, you might be watching and saying, well, I really like Teams and maybe I should be doing backup, but I'm not quite ready for Active Directory in the cloud. And so we're quite available to talk to you and find out which of these elements are relevant for your company at this point. As I said, we actually use all of them. I think I also wanted to make a point that it's very clear, it should be very clear to you why these specifically Office 365, but all of these elements are really suited to remote working functionality. It really does make your Office totally mobile, and it really does minimize any disruptions that happen in the world. But having said that, I also realize some of you have got companies that are unable to work remotely because, I don't know, you're a retailer, you're a restaurant, you're a dentist. So I know that this isn't relevant for everybody. I also wanted to say that you have to look at this, and some people are going to be thinking, yeah, but at the moment I'm using, you know, my on-site Exchange server, I'm using a PopMail account, it's not costing me anything. Now you're saying we need to start paying for this stuff. And I think really what you need to do is think of it as a benefit rather than a cost. And, you know, how's your company going to benefit from using this technology? Will it make you more efficient? Will it actually increase revenue at some point rather than seeing it as a cost? And just finally, just in case any of you are wondering why we're actually doing this session on Zoom and not in Teams, and Jaco could probably elucidate more on this, but we haven't yet found a function in Teams that actually allows you to do a webinar broadcast. And that's why we're using Zoom. I'm sure there will shortly be a webinar function in Teams as well. And if that was the case, we would have used Teams. But thanks very much, guys.
Thanks, David. All right, guys, look, I see there's a few people voting, but I'm going to need you just to move your mouse and find the taskbar, the toolbar on the Zoom control panel, and then you'll see the polls there, and then you can start putting your votes in. There's a few people that are asking. Perfect, thanks Neil, appreciate it. And yeah, so just go to the poll, cast your vote. It's going to take you about 3 seconds to do that. I'm going to leave that running for a bit, but all in all, I think we're done. Appreciate everybody's attending. Aidan, yeah, thanks. You're asking where the poll is. So on the little taskbar where you control your mute and your camera, etc., there should be a poll that pops up there, yeah, then you can simply just click on it. See, people are raising their hand. Byron. Yeah, Dave, sorry, you can continue.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the poll yet. Okay.
All right, so I can relaunch it. Let's just see if I can do that.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. David, I hope you can see the poll now.
Yeah, got it.
All right. Cool.
I can see it as well, yeah.
All right, excellent. Votes are streaming in. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, guys. All right, so we'll leave this up and running for the next 5 minutes or so. But all in all, thank you very much, guys, for attending. Our next session will be on cloud-hosted cybersecurity. And David, just correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's on the 6th of April.
If you say so, Jaco.
Just check your team's calendar, please, and make sure.
It's on the 6th of April, correct.
All right, excellent. Yeah, that's going to be a very cool one.
It's on day 11, I think.
Of lockdown.
Yeah.
It's weird that we actually started using that now as a calendar reference. Cool. All right, guys, that's a wrap from our side. We thank you for joining us, and have a great day further, and enjoy the weekend.
Cheers,
Thank
thanks.
you, Jaco.